Super cool intro.
What's up guys, Monty428 here, back with another Borderlands video, and today I have something amazing to share with you. A couple of weeks ago, I went into the lab and I found an old project of mine from about 7 years ago that I never completed. I realized the Monty clan needs this content, so I gotta finish this up, and I gotta see what's gotta get done, and that way you guys can have this video. So a couple of weeks later, here I am with my completed project. I'm so happy to share with you the 3rd DLC character and 7th overall character for Borderlands 2, Dr. Zed. I don't want to dilly-dally on this at all. I want to get right into the meat of this juicy burger. But first, quick disclaimer. I'm sure other people have made Dr. Zed skill trees in the past, but for creative integrity, I made sure not to look up any or do any kind of research into anything at all. I wanted this to be 100% my own original thoughts from my own noodle, and I wanted to be able to make my own character that felt unique and original to me that could actually work in Borderlands 2. So I hope you guys enjoy these skill tree concepts, and I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on what I could add, change, take away, whatever. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments, and without further ado, let's get into it. First off, we have the action skill, Night of the Living Ned, which is a reference to the final mission of BL1's Zombie DLC. Press action skill to summon 3 zombies. If a zombie dies, another will spawn in its place. You spawn 2 normal zombies and 1 defiler. The duration and cooldown are both 40 seconds, which I got this from Timothy in the pre-sequel. The Jack clones have 40-second duration and cooldown, and you spawn 2 at a time. So maybe 1 regular zombie, 1 defiler. Not too sure about how the balancing would work there. But the same can be said for everything with these concepts, as none of it is being tested obviously, so it's all subject to change. Going into the Witch Doctor skill tree, this is the left green tree. In the tier 1 we have first on the field. For each stack of alchemy you gain increased movement speed. When an enemy is suffering a damage over time, you constantly gain stacks of alchemy. And you get 100 alchemy stacks, and each stack will give you 0.12 to 0.6% movement speed based on how many points you have in the skill. Then for 1 point Vodka Juice, your melee attacks deal extra corrosive damage with the chance to apply a corrosion damage over time. Dr. Zed's melee attack is going to be using a syringe, obviously, what else would it be? So he's going to do an underhand jab with the syringe. And for the skill, as we just said, it can apply a corrosion dot. Next we have Suppressive Fire, which is a kill skill. Killing an enemy increases fire rate for each stack of alchemy. When an enemy is suffering damage over time, you constantly gain stacks of alchemy. And this is 0.6 to 3% per stack. Then in the second tier we have T800, which increases zombie movement speed and health. Movement speed by 15 to 75%. And zombie health from 10 to 50%. Then we have Zed's Meds, which is also 5 points. Enemies are more likely to drop extra health vials upon death based on how many stacks of alchemy you have. So you get plus 1 to 0.5%. Going into tier 3 we have a Vault Hunter Augment, which is like the action skill augments, except it's not for the action skill, it's just to Zed's base character. So we have Stabber Jabber. Zed has mutated himself and his zombies with Varkid DNA. This is going to make it so that when your shield is broken, you release Stabber Jabber, Venom, and a Slag Nova. So this is a Slag Nova shield, which we don't have in the base game. Your shield must fully recharge between Novas, and for the zombies, it imbues their attacks with Slag. I wasn't really sure how to make this a 5-point skill. I was tinkering around with it, but I came to the conclusion that it could be the Nova Slag radius can be upped. So if you have any ideas on how to alter the skill, let me know, but it's going to be 10 to 50%. Then we have Feel the Burn, which is going to be like Vodka Juice, except instead of corrosion, it's fire. And now that means you can inflict a corrosive and an incendiary dot with your melee attacks, which is going to help you get your alchemy stacks up. Also in tier 3 for 5 points we have a kill skill, which is Chemist. This increases elemental effect chance based on your amount of current health. The higher your health, the bigger the bonus. So this is like Gage's kill skill, except instead of elemental effect damage, it's for chance, because you don't really want to be upping your elemental effect damage too much, because if you're killing enemies with your elements, then you're not getting all of the other bonuses. You just want to proc the elements so that you can get your bonuses, like with Krieg and the Infection. Your elemental effect chance will be going up for up to 8 to 40% based on your health, of course, and that means that this goes hand in hand with Zed's meds and skills from other trees. In tier 4 we have a 1-point skill, which is another Vault Hunter augment, and this one is I'm Eggman. Zed has mutated himself with Rack DNA, so now you can double jump. And also for 5 points you can grab Pheochromocytoma. So this is a real thing, by the way. There is a delay between not doing elemental damage and losing alchemy stacks, and the stack delay is 0.5 to 2.5 seconds. This is just like the skill that Krieg has with Bloodlust. I think it's called Boiling Blood. But what this is in real life is it's a tumor in the adrenal glands that makes it so your adrenal glands can't stop producing adrenaline, and it's going to give you high blood pressure, it's going to make you sweat and have rapid heart rate. So for Zed, he's too pumped up with adrenaline and he cannot lose his stacks. In tier 5 for 5 points we have Career Benefits. While your action skill is active, your shield has a shorter recharge delay based on how many stacks of alchemy you have. That's going to be 0.5 to 2.5%. Then at the capstone, we have Full Metal Alchemist. Upon reaching maximum alchemy stacks, your shots have a chance to not consume ammo. This applies to grenades and rockets, but to a lesser degree. So you get plus 20 max stacks flat out, by the way, and it gives you a free shot for regular guns 45%, free grenade chance for 40%, and free rocket chance at 35%. This skill probably took the longest to come up with for this entire process, because capstones are a bit difficult. You don't want to make them too overpowered, but since it's the final skill in the tree, they've got to be worth it. And I think making it so you need to have maximum alchemy stacks to proc this skill is pretty good, and it'll be fun to mess around with for raid bosses and stuff. So yeah, let me know what you think about that skill. Now we're going to go into the blue middle tree, which is the Pandorologist tree. At tier 1 for 5 points we have Surgeon's Touch. Increases reload speed and weapon swap speed by 4 to 20% and 8 to 40% respectively. Then Sharp Instruments. Damaging an enemy under 60% health has a chance to make them bleed. I really liked the concept of bleed in TPS for Athena, and I want to introduce it to Zed's kit in BL2, but I think that it would really have to be fine-tuned, as I do count bleed as a status effect, and combining with that with alchemy can get a little wonky. So I don't know exactly if I want to keep this skill as it is, but I just wrote it down as meleeing an enemy gives 12 to 60% bleed chance. Yeah, I don't really know. That's definitely got to be messed around with, but I want the idea to be there. In tier 2 for 5 points we have Hunter's Instincts. Increases damage the farther you are from an enemy, increases fire rate the closer you are. This is similar to one of Aurelia's skills, and I just added on to it. So damage 4 to 20% and fire rate 5 to 25%. Then for 5 points Crawler. While in Fight for Your Life, damaging an enemy extends your Fight for Your Life timer by a short amount, and it has diminishing returns. Now this is just a ripoff of BL3's Guardian Rank skill, which I really don't like it because it's like incredibly easy to use. Like, it's just a hand holding skill, but I also kind of like the idea of it for Zed, so I'm gonna put it in here. Next up in tier 3 for 5 points we have the Hypocritical Hypocrites. For every second you don't shoot an enemy, you gain a stack of Hypocritical. Each stack boosts critical hit damage and accuracy, and so at 10 max stacks you can get 0.6 to 3% critical hit damage and 1.2 to 6% accuracy. For 1 point we have Another One. When summoning your zombies, you also summon a lance zombie who attacks by chucking shock transfusion grenades that heal you and your zombies. Next up at 5 points we have another kill skill, Skag Meat. Killing an enemy gives you temporary max health based on your level at rank 1 to 5. I don't really know how adding temporary max health works. I feel like it's kind of annoying, but I like that idea for a Skag skill. And speaking of Skag skills, in Tier 4 we have another Vault Hunter augment, Ferocity of a Wereskag. Zed has mutated himself with Wereskag DNA, so now he can run and gun and has a 10% damage resistance to bullets, as well as doing 30% more damage to bleeding targets. Also in Tier 4 for 5 points we have Muscle Memory. Every time you reload a gun you gain a stack of muscle memory, increasing reload speed for each stack, and the stacks go away upon death or upon switching weapons. You can have 20 of these stacks at 2 to 10% reload speed per stack. I would just like to toot my horn a little bit on this one because I think this is a really awesome skill that works perfect for Borderlands. So yeah, props to me for that one. Then at Tier 5 for 5 points, this is going to hurt you more than it's going to hurt me. The first shot fired from your gun drains a portion of your health as amp damage, and it's going to drain 10 to 50% of your current health to deal double the damage taken. For this one, I might change it so that it's just a flat amount of amp drain no matter how many points you put into it, and it ups the amount taken. But I don't know. I'm trying to consider how actual amp shields work when applying it to your health, and for just being a skill that is always proccing no matter how much health you have. And I think that can be a fun one to mess around with. The capstone in the Pandorologist tree is going to be called Slag Powers, which is a reference to when you meet Dr. Zed in BL2 for the first time and you perform surgery on the Hyperion Shark Bag. He tells us that you cannot get slag powers from swallowing iridium shards, which it turns out you can actually get slag powers from another source. So holding X while in Fight for Your Life will instantly revive you by injecting yourself with an iridium sample, giving you several boosts. This can be done on an ally that is in Fight for Your Life by holding Y on them, and it has a long cooldown of 42 seconds. You're going to get double the amount of health you normally get from getting revived. You're going to get 40% movement speed and 20% damage reduction. So I think that's a pretty fair skill to have as a capstone, and I think it also works with, like anointed enemies in BL3. It kind of goes in line with that. So I think that's overall a nice skill, and it works for co-op, so that's nice. Heading over to the red right tree, the medical professional tree. This is actually the first tree that I worked on when I was making this concept. Going into Tier 1 at 5 points we have Brute Force. Increases melee damage and shortens the melee animation. Melee damage plus 5 to 25%, and the animation duration goes down by 0.1 to 0.5 seconds. Now I don't really know exactly how that would work. My intentions with the skill is to make it so that if you were not spec'd into it and you would do one melee attack, so let's say that's 1 second long, so then if you're fully spec'd into this skill you would do 2 melee attacks for every 1 normal melee attack. But maybe that has to just be a flat rate, it's not point based. Like I don't want to make it so that if you spec 2 or 3 points into the skill it's not going to matter at all. If you understand my intentions with the skill, we can try to work around that. But I like that idea a lot of shortening the animation duration, and that would work well with the Alchemy skill tree as well. Also in Tier 1 for 5 points we have Patch You Up. Grants you a small amount of health regen, which is 0.5 to 2.5% of max health per second. Then at Tier 2 we have a kill skill for 5 points, Bedrock Plating. Killing an enemy grants you, your zombies, and your allies a damage reduction to bullets and melee damage. You're going to get 4 to 20% bullet damage reduction and 5 to 25% melee damage reduction. The next skill for 5 points is going to be the Infantry Cavalry, which will reduce your action skill cooldown based on how low your health is. And it's going to go by plus up to 9 to 45%. Might need to fiddle around with those numbers a little bit, but considering that it's not a flat bonus, it's dependent on how low your health is, it's always going to be varying. For that reason, I think this is a neat skill to counter all of the health bonus skills that I've added in these skill trees. And once again, I've just got to toot my own horn. The Infantry Cavalry, you got to give that one to me. That's a great name, just like most of these other names, I would say. But moving on, at tier 3 for 5 points, nerve damage, just a flat increased resistance to shock, so 7 to 35% shock resistance. Then another Vault Hunter augment, which is also the melee override for Zed. This is going to be Bullymong Brawler. Zed has mutated himself with Bullymong DNA. Pressing melee will lunge forward and smash your Bullymong arms, doing massive damage and knockback. This has a long cooldown, and if you use it while in Fight for Your Life, you will gain increased movement speed, and you cannot... let me rephrase that. While in Fight for Your Life, you gain increased movement speed, and you cannot perform the melee override. So the lunge melee damage is going to do 200% of your normal melee damage. It has 20-second cooldown, and you get 20% movement speed in Fight for Your Life. The next skill, To the Grave. If one of your zombies dies, it will blow up, dealing corrosive damage to nearby enemies. When your action skill ends, all zombies will blow up. Corrosive damage is based on your level at rank 125. Then at tier 4, another Vault Hunter augment. This one's called Hammerlock's Monster. Zed has mutated himself with Thresher DNA. Press crouch while in the air to ground slam, sending a wave of Thresher tentacles at enemies. So once again, taking from the pre-sequel, we're going to be adding slams into BL2, but not like how they were in BL3 because that was an animation lock and that was really stupid. Also, Hammerlock's Monster is a reference to TPS as well, and the fact that he is the reason why Threshers are on Pandora, because Pandora is not their home world and they are an invasive species. I got the inspiration for this skill based on Amara from BL3 for her action skill Face Slam, one of the augments, I believe. It makes it so that when you Face Slam, you shoot out a line of fists in the ground. And so it's basically that, but with Thresher tentacles. Next up, the kill skill Forbidden Practices. Killing an enemy makes your melee attacks heal you for a portion of damage done. So you're going to get lifesteal with your melee attacks for 7 to 35%. At tier 5, we have Through Hate Alone. Each zombie's damage is increased the longer it is alive, and that's going to be by 2 to 10%. And lastly, the capstone is Gwen's Other Head. Pressing action skill while your action skill is active will throw a zombie head bouncing Betty grenade that shoots shards of teeth out at nearby enemies. Enemies hit by these projectiles will have a chance to bleed. This skill was originally going to be a slag proccing grenade instead of bleeding, but I made it bleeding after I made the other bleed skill because I wanted to have another way to proc bleed, and then I made this slag skill the stabber jabber stings. So now I have both of them, and I think that this is a unique way to go about proccing bleed. And the reference itself, there's Gwen's head from BL2, Gwen's other head in TPS, and now Gwen's other head being the actual head of Gwen. You're gonna hold up her head, you're gonna toss it out, and it's gonna shoot teeth everywhere. So you gotta admit, that's an awesome idea. But let me know if you think that there's a better way to go about it. Let me know what you think of this skill and of all of the skills. I would love to know everyone's thoughts and opinions. If you guys are already thinking of some builds that could go along well with this, or if maybe you think that this is all total garbage and a complete waste of my time, let me know. I really enjoy seeing feedback. But anyways, now we have to go over the 4 legendary class mods that I've come up with. I really wanted to make a bunch of class mods, go through all of the different kinds, but I figured it'd just be easier to make a couple legendary ones, and you can go down from there to make the regular ones. So for the class mods themselves, they're going to be Zed's medical license, and based on which variant you have, there will be a different image or a different scribbling on it that indicates that, I don't know. But the base class mod is going to be his medical license, and it'll just be on his belt or something. First one is the legendary medical professional, which gives you plus 300,000 maximum health and plus 43% cooldown rate. And I'm just gonna show you the image, and you can see what these skills do exactly if you don't remember. But this is Zed's only +6 skill class mod, and there's another class mod that gives him a perk. There's only one for that. And I looked at every Borderlands 2 class mod to see, which class mods give perks, which ones have +6, when they came out, in what order, are they all similar for every class. Like, I looked at every aspect to make sure that I made these class mods correctly. So yeah, that's just how I went about it, and this is how they turned out. So this one is going to give +5 Zed's meds, career benefits, surgeon's touch, sharp instruments, brute force, and patch you up. So everything that a medical professional would need. And the red text is, next time you're bleeding to death, just think Dr. Zed. I wanted to make all of the red text quotes from either Dr. Zed or Dr. Ned. And moving on to the legendary alchemist class mod, this is going to give you +36% mag size, +45% electrocute chance, and +45% corrode chance. It's going to give you +5 to burst on the field, suppressive fire, chemist, pheochromocytoma, and nerve damage. Everything that an alchemist would need. And the red text is actually from the Tina DLC. In the Zed vending machine, he says, "Go kill some wizards for me." Then the legendary necromancer, action skill duration +10 seconds, shield recharge rate +40%, and it gives you +5 to T800, career benefits, crawler, the infantry cavalry, and through hate alone. And the perk for this class mod is, while action skill is active, getting a melee kill increases zombie damage by 1%. The red text is, who needs Dr. Zed when you have Dr. Ned? And that was said by Dr. Ned. The final class mod is the legendary Pandorologist. It's going to give you +25% melee damage, and +5 to Stabber Jabber, Hunter's Instincts, Muscle Memory, Brute Force, and Bedrock Plating. The red text is, hope you've had your shots. So this is your melee comm, and as a Pandorologist, you're getting bonuses to all of the Pandoran creature skills. That is going to wrap up this video. If you're a modder and you want to make this a real thing, just give me credit, and I would love for the community to be able to play as Dr. Zed. I'm really happy with how this all turned out, and once again, I've said it multiple times, but I would love for anybody to give me feedback. Tell me what you would change, tell me what you liked, what you didn't like. And if you liked the video, then be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day. Peace.